Live tonight. It's another edition of Skip Happens. Hello there. I'm Skip Clark, obviously. I'm going to tell you right off the top, I am definitely out of my comfort zone tonight a little bit because normally when you see me come on, you've got Deb hanging with me. We're coming out and we're talking about country music. We're talking about the big stars. We're talking about shows. We're talking about Nashville. We're talking about all different things when it comes to country music. That's not the case tonight. And Skip Happens is expanding a little bit, if you will. I've got some great things coming up, and this is the first of many great things. And you'll see it's Tracy Mergler. And if that name sounds familiar to you, I'll tell you why. She's the creator and founder of a place called Space CNY right here in central New York. But it's about mental health, and it's something that everybody needs to maybe pay attention to and think a little bit because you may think you're okay, but you know what? Maybe you're not. I mean, we were just, Tracy and I were talking off the air here just a moment ago, about my certain situation and how do I handle it? And I'm going, wow, I'm going through, I guess you would say this, right, Tracy? Like a mental health crisis. And good health, though, includes mental health. So is that correct?
Yes, 100%.
Am I right by saying all that?
Yeah, it is half of the equation.
Yeah. So you and I actually met. I did an interview for the radio, and that's how we got to know each other. And then we kind of have some mutual friends, which is kind of cool. And we both have more or less the same interests when it comes to music, maybe a different genre, but it's still all good. It's all really cool. But to come to find out that you have been through a lot in your lifetime, you have learned a lot from your mistakes. You've had the eating disorder early on, correct? You know what? I'm going to let you explain you.
Okay.
All right, okay. Tracy Mergler, everybody, safe space. This is pretty cool tonight. So you explain you.
Okay. Oh God, it's loaded.
Where do we start? Right?
It depends on who you ask, but if it's coming from me, okay, me. So I grew up in Tully, New York, so just outside of Syracuse. One of four. My family owns lumber yards, right? And so we, wonderful childhood. But around the age of 10, I started to develop an eating disorder. And at that point, it wasn't really obvious. It's just I used food to cope. I used food to make myself feel better. And it wasn't until I was 12, 13, as a teen girl is going through everything she's going through, that there was more of an emphasis on my body, right? And so that eating disorder developed, and it developed into anorexia, which then, as I continued on as an athlete, became bulimia, became an exercise addiction, you name it. I dabbled in all eating disorders. And so in Syracuse here, around the age of 14, we looked for help. And at that point, I had this for a while. And we found a therapist up at Syracuse University, and that was the only one we had that knew anything about eating disorders here. And that's what we did for a while. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I had to go inpatient into a treatment facility.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that actually happened 6 different times. So within my lifespan, within the next 20 years, I was in and out of treatment centers. And not here. I did a few here, but we didn't have any real residential programs here. So I was shipped to Florida. I was shipped to Philadelphia.
So you actually had to go there, obviously. You actually had to stay there for a period of time.
Yeah, because that's how we heal, how we deal with eating disorders is you actually go to a residential facility and they feed you, they lock you. I mean, it's kind of like a lockdown. You don't have access to your bathrooms. You don't have access to sharps. And they have you on a strict meal plan and no movement plan. And you really sit around and do talk therapy.
So explain to me though, like, okay, maybe I don't mean to sound like I don't know, but I don't know.
No,
so an eating disorder, I mean, they take the sharps away from you and all that stuff so you don't hurt yourself. Do you go through like mental changes in your brain that make you think that you may want to harm yourself?
Yeah. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it today, right?
Wow.
We're seeing it with
Yeah.
it's self-harm, right? So a lot of the time when you've experienced trauma, you shut yourself off. Your mind shuts off, your body shuts off, you're numb to things, right? Self-harm is a way to feel. Or self-harm does the exact opposite, where it gets you to stop feeling. So it's different for everybody, but it's another tool. All
Mhm.
addictions across the board, we have them for a reason. They're performing some purpose inside of us to either quiet down the storm or to make us feel again, right? And so that self-harm is one of those things. And unfortunately, when you've experienced significant trauma,
Mhm.
self-harm goes hand in hand with a lot of that.
Yeah, I
So
guess that makes sense. Um, but eating disorder. Now
mhm.
I'm thinking like, all right, you got me thinking, do I have an eating disorder because I have to have a bowl of ice cream every night? Or, I mean, I'm eating things I shouldn't eat, but that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about trying not to eat, correct?
Yeah, there's many forms. There's
Okay.
different versions of eating disorders, but yes, I would say a bowl of ice cream a day is balance, in my opinion, right? I try and
Maybe I'm
do.
being a little silly about it, but I don't want to. This
No,
is a serious subject, but it makes me
it
think a little bit.
Um, I think that food is used as a coping modality, as a coping tool for a lot of people, right?
Hmm.
They say, when you're stressed, when you're sad, a breakup, right? They have the pictures of you in front of the TV with a bowl of ice cream and your bottle of wine. Like food is used to make you feel better
That
in
is
a
true.
moment, right? But what happens is food also can be used to, to process trauma. And so what happens is when something's happened to you, and since which we'll get into, we don't really teach our children how to process emotions.
Hmm.
um, we usually shove it down. It's usually too scary to think about, too scary to process, too scary to tell. And so what happens is food then helps you do that. So like with anorexia is
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
not eating. um,
Right.
for someone that struggles with anorexia is usually very thin,
Right.
under, and what not eating does is you stop feeling. It numbs out everything that's going on inside of you. So and what happens is the food then becomes the enemy. Instead of what's going on inside, the food is the scariest thing in the world, right? So it becomes a coping modality. So there is anorexia. There's
Hmm.
binging, which is when you eat a ton of food all at once,
Yep.
which helps with filling you up, right? Um, it could be serving a lot of purposes. And then there's binging tends to go with purging, which purging doesn't have to just be throwing up. It could be over exercising. It could be starving yourself for days. It
Hmm.
it could be
Hmm.
laxative abuse. It could be a lot of things.
Is that what you did? Did you over exercise?
I did. I went through all of these things.
Okay. Okay.
I did. I was an athlete. I went to RIT and played volleyball.
Very
So,
cool.
yeah, so I would binge and then I would go days without eating, or I would overexercise, or I would throw up, or I would use laxatives. You name it. I tried it,
Mhm,
you
mhm,
know.
mhm, mhm.
Um and so it went on and off like that for most of my life. I would come back to Syracuse and I would kind of fall back on my face because we didn't really have much here in community support. We had some, but nothing that ever worked. And so the last time around, I came back and I was like, okay, I'm just going to build something then, which is where Safe Space came from.
Very cool. Does depression play a big role in this as well?
Yeah. Yeah, they go hand in hand, and you never
Yeah,
know which one comes first, right? The cart before the horse, the egg before the
exactly,
thing, whatever
exactly.
any of those is the depression that comes with the eating. No, they tend to go hand in hand.
Mhm.
So yeah, when I was 14, I was diagnosed with an eating disorder and with depression. So
Oh, man, man.
those were the labels, but
Did I know you went away to get help and all that, and it worked, and then it didn't work. It worked, it didn't work. You came home, it didn't work. You had to do whatever. Did you ever have thoughts of doing something like to harm yourself?
absolutely.
You did.
And I'm actually really glad you brought that up because I did have suicidal thoughts.
Hmm.
Nothing I ever acted on, but it was there a lot. And Skip, it's not because I wanted to die. I didn't want to die.
Right.
Um, I just wanted the pain to stop. I really just wanted the pain to stop. And what was being told to me worked wasn't working. I was on a ton of different like and antidepressants and other
Hmm.
medications to help me. It didn't work. It numbed me out completely. And they were saying all of this was supposed to get me better, and it wasn't. And so, in all honesty, I thought it was me. I thought I was the failure. I thought I
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
doing something wrong. And
Yeah.
because of that, yeah, the suicidal thoughts were there for sure.
Wow. Wow. Did you you went through all this, did it lead to any other things? I mean, like drugs or anything like that that made you just kind of, or
No,
you don't
actually,
have to talk about that if you don't
no,
want to. I'm just
no.
kind of curious that it sounds like, with the eating disorder, and it has a lot to do with mental health, and that's what we're talking about here tonight. And the depression. And sometimes there's, if I'm not mistaken, there's a lot of people that have a tendency to lean towards some other means of making them feel okay.
And I want to start to normalize that because I think some of what society says is okay is actually an addiction too.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I never got into drugs. That was never an outlet for me, but other things were. I could overindulge in alcohol. Could
Okay.
overindulge in sex. I could overindulge. Like there are all
Hmm.
these areas,
Hmm.
right, where you think of video games, you think of porn, you think of
Mm.
a workaholic. I mean, realistically, that's a nonstop
Sure.
um, thing that our society is okay with, actually like applauds. So with addictions, people hop all the time, right? Whatever is kind of working in the moment, whatever is getting that fix, uh, because you're always chasing that. You're always chasing it because you can't be because your current state is not okay. So you got to either go for the high or go for the low. Um,
Right. 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 So, I
so
mean, you're doing good now.
I'm great. It's been
I
it's
know.
been
I know.
6 years, so I'm great.
That is awesome. And you went, and of course, you've been up until recently a special ed teacher in a local district.
Yeah,
That's got to be pretty rewarding in itself to be able to work with these boys and girls that need some direction. And you're one of those that would give them the direction that they need.
yeah,
I know, and I have the utmost respect for that because obviously I have a son that's Down syndrome, and he's a graduate of CNS, but I don't know what we would do without people like you if we didn't have you. So,
yeah.
so this has led you to say, I need to do something. The medical side wasn't really helping where it should help, so you decided to create something that is nothing to do with the medical side, that it's something where others can go and share their story and help each other. Is that correct?
And
Am I correct
that is
to say that?
correct.
Yes.
And just so you know, like yes, it. I believe that. No, I feel like I need to say this. I'm gonna
Go
say,
ahead.
I believe that meds have a place for a lot of people,
Sure.
and talk therapy and a lot of what the medical world brings. Believe me, I believe that is an
Hmm.
important piece of targeting mental health and what we're up against right now. But there is so much more. There is so much more, and it comes down to building your own toolbox because what works for me does not necessarily going to work for you. It's just we're all different, which is awesome, makes us unique. But
That's true.
that means our modalities are probably going to be different too. So you got to try some things out. So yes, to answer your question, I lived in I lived in Asia for about 6 years
Oh, wow.
and got to experience some of the modalities over there that they use, like breath work and meditation and yoga, and these, hate to even say it, but more holistic or Eastern
Hmm. Hmm.
type approaches that people have been doing
Yeah.
for decades, right? And
Right.
they
Right.
work. And so I started to incorporate some of those and then just try some of these out of the box things. And I built a toolbox of what works for me. And so yeah, when I sat down, this idea of safe space hit me one night at my dining room table. And because I'm a special needs teacher, right? I get out my paper and my crayons and I just start drawing it. And I'm like, okay, what does this look like? What does this look like? Right. And that's where safe space came alive. So
And now we've progressed here in Syracuse to the point where you have a building, you're doing all that. You explain all that to me. It's I don't know, you're gonna there could be people watching this podcast in California. I don't know. I have people watch this in Asia. So, but I'm just saying,
awesome.
here in central New York,
Yes. Yes.
you've got your building, you're building it, and you're making it happen. Tell us a little bit about that.
I am. So this concept started before COVID, right? And then
Mhm.
COVID hit. And so the idea of safe space was going to be for the recovery community, to tell you the honest truth, people that were in recovery from something, not just eating
Mhm. Mhm.
disorders. And then COVID hit and I was like, holy crap, this is everybody. Like nobody knows how to cope. Nobody knows how like things were just hitting and people that I really thought had stuff
Mhm.
all together were like falling. And I'm like, this is everybody. Like this is everybody. And I'm like, we're just really good at pretending we're okay. We're really good at it. And so, yes. So we started support groups right away because what I did was I took from my recovery periods and I was like, what worked? What was it about treatment facilities that worked so well?
Mhm.
And the big thing about it was, first of all, the safety you have in that kind of enclosure. But the other was that you're surrounded by people that have been through what you've been through. So they can be like, so when I look at somebody and tell them an eating disorder story, they're not like,
Right,
like
right.
they understand
Yeah.
and you feel validated, you feel connected, you don't feel alone. And so what COVID was doing was forcing us all to be alone, right? And so I started these support groups during COVID and they started to grow and gain some momentum and then we had initially had a space downtown that kind of fell through. And then I had these two professors from Cornell University reach out that study brain health. And
Mhm.
they were
Mhm.
like, we just bought a building here in Syracuse and we want you in it. And so I'm like,
Wow. Love it.
okay. Okay. So we are currently raising money to turn this building and to turn the third floor into what safe space will eventually be. So
Right. Yeah. So you're raising money. So you have a website
I do
and
have a
people,
website. I
yeah,
do.
and they go there and people can donate to the cause as well.
Yeah,
Correct?
we are a non-for-profit. We are a
Yep. Yep.
501c3.
Excellent.
Um, so yes, we because we're also a startup though, there's
Mhm.
nothing really out there that kind of looks like us. Um, it's caused us we've had to push a little harder, right? Because we're not a cookie cutter model. So to
Correct.
explain what we are to people, like to get them to get it, um, has took a little bit. So
Yeah. Yeah. But they've got the right person heading this, somebody that's been there and you know what it's about, Tracy. I mean, you definitely know what it's about. Do you get any? I know you don't get any intervention from the medical side, but do you get some of those doctors that'll come in and talk or stuff like that still, or you stay completely away and just keep it
no, we're
between?
not completely away at all. Actually, we hope to be honestly a step down model for some of
Oh,
the
okay.
universities here, the hospitals here, because you think about it when someone goes into a rehab program, it's 30 days and then you're released back into the environment that made you sick, right? So what they say is people,
Hmm.
places, and things. Those things have to all change in
Hmm.
order to support your recovery. So if you don't connect with like an AA model or one of those, like you're really left on your own. And we know that isolation is deadly. So that idea of creating community and
Hmm.
finding your people is essential to staying in recovery and on the right path. And so that our goal is actually to partner at some point with some of the local hospitals and treatment facilities that we can be the next
Hmm.
step down. Because I agree that
Yeah.
we need the medical piece. We
Yeah,
do.
I totally agree. I just love the idea that you're keeping it for the most part where you got others helping you got people helping each other
Yeah.
that are in the same situation.
Yes. And
Now,
educating, right? Teaching my
right,
things like, hey, that
right.
worked, this worked for me. That worked, like
Yes, yes,
that type of team
yes, yes.
mentality.
What would you say? How does one know that they're having a problem? Is that it? How does
Mm,
one really know? Because sometimes you can talk to people and go, "I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't need any help. I'm good. I'm good." But really, I mean,
such a good
really.
question. Yeah, because most of us can see it if somebody's struggling, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
for the most part, I think because the stigma around mental health is so bad that that's why people have such a hard time saying, I could use some help in this area, right? Because once say like the way we normalize drinking in our society, right? And
Yeah.
especially since COVID, I have a lot of friends that could be considered alcoholics, right?
Oh,
Like
well, don't we all? I mean,
we
come on,
all
let's
do.
be realistic about it. Yeah.
But where's the line? Like, where is that
Right.
line, right? And nobody wants that label because once you get that label, then what does that mean? And so,
Exactly.
um, I think that most people know subconsciously that they have a problem,
But
and
they
it's
don't want to admit to it, and we all see this. I see it in a lot of different places. It's okay to not be okay.
yes, yes, but to get there in your own head, right? That takes
It
everybody.
takes a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
It does. And usually it takes some sort of hitting a rock bottom of some sort, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
something with the law or something with your relationship or with your kids, something where it's like, um, I need some help in this area.
Now, you take a look at society, you take a look where we are in this world right now, and the time frame and everything that's going on. It seems to be so bad right now. It seems it's so many. What we just had another mass shooting. And what's that? That's just some godly high number already, and it's only the middle of February. Um, it's just there's so much going on, not only in the world but right here at home. It's
Mm,
just we're hearing about it, we're reading about it, we're just everywhere we go, there's a conversation about something that happened. I mean, it's just I've never seen it this bad. And so I think this problem needs to be addressed, and people need to feel that, they're not okay and they need to get help.
yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
explain it, but
No.
it's hard.
I think you did a great job. I think the key to that is vulnerability. If I'm sitting here and I'm completely shut off, it does not allow you
Mhm.
to then speak vulnerable about your own experiences, right? But if I come out here and throw all my dirty laundry, which I just did, let's take note of that. I
I'd get
just
a
did.
lot of viewers if we did that. I just want you to know.
No, but it's like it opens this door up.
Yeah,
It just
it
is like,
does.
wow, you you're struggling too. Like you know, and so it's going to take enough of us telling our stories,
Mhm.
enough of us saying, I'm not okay before we make that okay, right? And I
Mhm.
think the problem is that the world has so much fear in it right now. We're scared of everything. Let's be honest. Like we haven't seen it this bad in a long time. But now imagine you're a child in our city with that same fear, and their brains can't comprehend
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
actual scenarios like we have like that we can as adults. So that is why we are seeing the anxiety out of our kids and the fear and the
Yeah.
self-harm and the suicide and the opioid over like they just lived through COVID, right? And
Mhm. Mhm.
experienced something that none of us can relate to. Their world ended pretty abruptly. And then
Yeah.
they were scared. They were scared for their lives. And
Oh,
so
absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
um
What were you seeing in the schools being an educator? What were you seeing? Obviously, you must have been seeing a lot of stuff going on in the schools. I know you said you were special ed, but still, I mean, the school is the school and there's all different levels.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Um Uh, especially so I was a teacher for younger kids, second,
yeah. Yeah.
kindergarten. And so coming out of COVID, um, it was a lot of kids that didn't know how to be in school, right? Because it was 2 years of
Mm,
online. So
sure.
they weren't taught the skills of how to sit on a carpet or how to raise a hand or ask a question or listen to somebody talk. So we were dealing with a much younger generation of children walking in the door, but we were also dealing with explosive behaviors, which we
Mhm.
see in most districts, but not to the degree that we've been
Right.
seeing.
It's much more frequent than it was before. I
Yeah,
realize it, and you've always had that, and there's always different situations, but it just seems that COVID put everybody into a frame of mind. The kids come to school, but you don't know what's going on at home, and you don't know the whole situation, and it just kind of, it affects their well-being
yeah.
too. So yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because these kids, these adults, how we as adults handled COVID,
mhm.
a lot of them were unhealthy mechanisms, right? Like the amount of drinking and drug use
Oh
and
yeah, that yeah.
abuse and all of this at home, right? So as parents are stressed and trying to cope, their kids are witnessing all of this. And so that's what they're coming into school with. And so yes, the behaviors,
Hmm. Hmm.
yes, it was a
Wow.
rough
Wow.
couple years. Yeah.
So we're talking about safe space now. Can anybody, when it's open and when it's ready to go? I mean, how does one? Can they just walk in and say, "I'm going to hang out and I'm going to talk to somebody," or how's all that going to work, Tracy?
A little bit. They can sort of do that. So our goal is it'll be like a membership. It'll be like a
Okay.
YMCA, right?
Hmm.
But we will be connected enough that if somebody walks in the door that needs dire like attention right then, that we are connected enough throughout the community that we can make the right call and find that person what they need at that point. We're kind of the middleman, and this is why I want to change the way we deal with mental health is because
Hmm.
of the stigma, because of how bad you have to get. I want to be that middleman. So you don't have to get that bad. You don't have to completely blow
Right.
up your lifestyle or get a DWI or all these things, right? That you have to crawl back from. That we become that middleman that offers the support before things get too bad. So when somebody walks in, they can have a membership for sure, or they can sort of pick whatever services they want, but our other goal is to team up with local businesses and offer this as part of sort of an HR package. So,
I was going to ask how it was going to work with the local businesses in the community, and I know we're here in Central New York. I don't know if anybody does this anywhere else. I really don't.
I don't know.
Um,
I think
I
this is kind of a
You know,
first.
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And hopefully somebody will see this still because if they want to reach out, they can reach out. And maybe they
Yes.
want to do this in their community because this is available. You can watch this around the world. So
Yeah. That's
it's kind
really
of
cool.
cool. It's
Yeah,
kind of
it's
cool.
really cool.
Really cool. Really cool. Now
Yeah.
I lost my train of
Well,
thought here for a minute, but yeah, I'm thinking,
so
wow,
no, we're talking memberships, but how could people walk in? Yeah.
yeah, 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 exactly. Exactly. So Safe Space CNY, what is the website again?
It is www.safespacecny.com.
I gotta laugh. Everybody goes the WWW.
Do they? I can't do
Nobody
it as
says the
low as you
WWW anymore.
I
I'm
can't
trying to
do
be
it
silly, but
as low as you do, though. I can't do it.
what the
Yeah,
WWW?
yeah.
SafeSpaceCNY.com.
There you go. That's why you get paid the big bucks because you can do that.
It's okay not to be okay, remember? Um, yeah. So Tracy Mergler, we've been talking to tonight, she's right here in Central New York with me, but we kind of met over the radio interview, as I mentioned a little while ago, and what she's doing and how she's handling the whole mental health situation here because she's been through it, most of it, and it's just it's great work. It's a great thing. And I wanted to get her on the podcast to talk about it. And I wanted people to see her. I wanted people to hear what you had to say and know that they're going to have a place to go and talk to somebody that maybe he's having the same situation. So
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I greatly appreciate that. I hope it's a concept that sticks. I mean, I guess I didn't really explain what it is. I probably probably should
Yeah, I mean, the floor is yours.
have.
So go. Let's hear it.
No, but what so our goal with Safe Space CNY
Okay.
is that it is a community space that changes the language around mental health by educating, supporting, connecting individuals. So what I mean by that is allows you to dip your toe into a variety of services and support groups. So anything from art therapy to drumming to meditation to breath work to yoga, the list goes on and on and on. Or support groups. And I'm not just talking if something like significant happens, like grief and loss, and
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
smaller T's, we call them smaller traumas too, right? Breakups, loss of a pet, um,
Hmm.
divorce, addiction. There's a men's group that we're starting next month, which I'm super excited about. There's
Cool.
um, or teens. So we have all these areas and postpartum, like you name it. We go through so much in life, and we're not meant to do it alone. We're not meant to. We're meant to do it in community, and so we're just
Absolutely.
normalizing this. So
I love what you're doing.
yeah.
I just love what you're doing, and I'd like to make this more of a regular conversation as we go on. This is the first time we've done this, but I think you've got a message to get out there, and you're reaching out for anybody that needs help. And look up safespacecny.com, right?
Yeah,
Safespacecny.com.
not WWS, WWW.
Yeah, I mean, this is a serious thing. I get that. But I laugh because, me working in the radio, and I do write a lot of commercials as well. And
Mhm.
anytime I see copy that comes in that says www dot, nobody says that anymore. I'm just giving you that heads up. So we just go safespacecny.com.
Okay, there we go. SafeSpaceCNY.com.
Check them out today. Call toll free. No, I have no idea. So speaking of that, will you have a phone hooked up for people that want to call, leave a message or
Yeah,
anything
we
like that?
will. I mean, currently it's coming directly to my cell phone, but yeah, people,
Oh, we got to
we
change that.
so we
You're not
now
going to get any
now
sleep. I
especially.
know. I know.
Um, but no, yes, there will be a phone number attached. Right
Cool.
now, we're kind of still throughout the community. We're running groups and supports like throughout the community where we can in different spaces. It's just not all under one roof yet.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but in the meantime, we're trying to just spread the message, spread the word, get people out there to know who we are, that we are a nonprofit, that just the legwork is what we're working on right now. But people don't know where to really turn at this point because
True.
our our therapy staff, our therapists are tapped out. I mean, they have been working just as hard, right, throughout this
Hmm.
pandemic,
Hmm.
and the waiting lists are long. And so, what our goal is to normalize that we can do this in groups, and that talk therapy doesn't have to be the only tool that you have. That you can be writing, you can be, taking an art class, you can be
Yeah.
learning different breathwork modalities. There are other options out there. So
Do you because and we're going to let you go here in a minute, but going through all this, did you do yoga and all that? I know you mentioned it earlier. Um, Things like that.
I did, because actually when I was living in Korea, I got hit by a car. I don't know if I
What?
told you that. Yeah, I got hit by a car while we were living over there.
That's a
Um,
story for another time, but go ahead.
and so I was an athlete, and I'm still an athlete,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
I was a volleyball player, right? So jumping, and then the car took my legs out, which have been put back together, but I can't do what I did before. And so yoga became a massive tool for me. But what I didn't realize is it's not just a workout. That when we were living over there, it was connecting the breath and connecting all of these other things together. And I realized, like, wow, this is a tool I like,
Hmm.
works
Hmm.
better than a lot of other ones I've ever tried. And um, but it tends to be marketed towards more of a middle and upper class clientele. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like
So yeah, yeah.
and
I've
so
been I've been told to try it, and it goes with your breathing as
yes,
well.
yes. Yeah,
Mm.
it's such a meditation too. Like, these are meant for everybody to use, right? It's just I think some people feel silly trying something new or walking into a yoga studio or
Mhm, mhm,
just trying
mhm.
something. It's scary. It's intimidating. And so that's what our goal is that it's like a one-on-one class. Like just dip your
Mhm.
toe in, try it out. And if you like it, then we can grow from there.
Nobody's going to laugh at you.
Nobody's gonna laugh at you.
Exactly.
Gonna laugh
I have
at
to
you.
keep saying that to myself.
Good.
But exactly, exactly. Now, you being a mom, and you
Yes,
have 2 kids.
I do. I do a 10 and a
So,
7.
oh boy, have you? The girl is the oldest, right?
Yeah.
Have
Mhm.
you talked to her about? I think she's only 10, but have you talked to her about any of the
Such
stuff
a good
that you've been
question.
through, or when is a good time to start talking to your kids about? You made the mistakes. You went through all that. How do
Mhm.
you tell your 10-year-old?
It's a good actually, I started about a year ago telling my 10-year-old because,
Mhm,
I left when she was 3, I left for
mhm.
treatment, and I was
Oh, wow.
gone for an extended amount of time, and honestly, she was young, but she still remembers, and so, um, I mean, the girls in our society today, and I'm not gonna just limit it to girls because I know guys feel the pressure too to look and be a certain
Right.
way. And now with social media and TikTok, that
Oh, yeah.
she sees
Mm,
all of this. And
sure.
she came to me probably 3 years ago with questions around her body and being uncomfortable, and it broke my heart that, like, my 7-year-old was already questioning that she wasn't okay. Um, and so I have always been very open with her about talking about our bodies and talking about what she
Mhm, mm.
sees on social media and what she sees just in our world in general.
Uh-huh.
But it was about a year ago that I started opening up to her how I used food to help me to deal with my feelings, and that I didn't feel like I was okay and that I wasn't enough and that my body wasn't okay. And
Mhm.
um so yeah, I think you do. These conversations are difficult to have,
Yeah,
it's a
I can't
vulnerable
imagine. Yeah.
yeah, it's a vulnerable situation, but if we're not having them, they're finding this information out from somewhere else, or they're making their own conclusions, and usually those conclusions are way off.
Yeah, that's
So
something you definitely I would think you would not want them to do.
yeah,
They wanna hear it from you. That's
absolutely.
gonna
And
be the truth. So, you know,
so there are some good books out there for young girls now,
good.
around all that, but it's still a very taboo subject. Like we don't
Mm.
talk about it enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely needs to be talked about more, and, Tracy is somebody that definitely knows what she's talking about. I love this, and, safespacecny.com, www. But, I know, I'm just kidding. It's good to see you smile. See? I mean, things
Aw,
do work out. Things
they
it's all
do.
good. And this is Skip Happens. So I guess you could take that name and hey, Skip Happens. But you know what? We make it work. We make
We
it
make
better.
it work.
We
We
get
come to
help when
the
we
other
need help.
side. There's always another side. You just gotta
Yeah. Yeah.
go through it. There's another
Yeah.
side. Yeah.
Well, make sure you check them out online. This is cool. This has been I know we're more or less neighbors, but we did it this way anyways. And some great information and Safe Space CNY. And something I'm going to be doing with this podcast now, as I mentioned in the beginning, is reach out to different people about different things. And this is something that's so very important, especially nowadays, mental health. If you want good health, it does include mental health. So it all goes together. And Tracy is somebody that's definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things. And we
Thank
got some other good things coming up here on Skip Happens too. So just keep an eye on it, as well as all the big stars. They come out and play on Skip Happens. Just giving you that heads up. Good time. Tracy, hey, thanks for joining us tonight. It's been pretty cool. Is there
Thanks for
anything else you want
having
to
me.
add? Yeah.
I don't
Anything
think
else you want to
so.
mention?
I don't think
Yeah.
so. You're
Should-
not alone. I want people to know that, right?
yes. Yes.
You're not alone in this. Really, everybody is experiencing this. It's just we're all on different levels, right? So don't don't ever feel you're alone. There are people out there to help. So,
Tracy, we love you. Thank you.
aw, thanks, Skip.
Thank you. Thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
coming out with us tonight. Make sure you check out safespacecny.com. You just had to
Thanks.
do that. All right. That's Tracy Mergler on Skip Happens tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed it. A lot of great information. You can always comment below. This is going to be up on Facebook and YouTube and all the good things. And Tracy, you'll have a link as well. So it's kind of cool. And hopefully you'll share it. All right. Thanks for joining us here tonight and Skip Happens, everybody.